Hey yo, what is up guys? DPX here. Welcome back to another movie review. Today I'm reviewing Eternals. It's a new MCU movie, and from what I've heard, the early reviews have been actually all over the place. So quite a divisive movie so far for the MCU. So, what do I think of it? Well, let's get started. Before we do that, you know what to do. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell and leave a comment, or I'll erase your existence. So, Eternals is, I just want to say, a different MCU movie. It is very different from anything the MCU has done. It does feel like an MCU movie just because it's a part of the MCU and it feels like that. But, like, you know, the way the story is being told is very different, and the type of story that's being told is different. Here's the thing, I was a bit conflicted on this movie, if I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say it's a good movie. I could see a lot of people, like a lot of you guys watching, not like this movie. I could also see a lot of people liking this movie. So it's honestly a coin flip, if I'm being honest. But I had fun with it. I did have some issues though, but we'll get into that later. First off, the cast is great. You have a nice cast here. You know, some big names and some not too well-known names. But, like, overall, the cast delivers a great performance. I don't think there's anyone who, like, sort of phones it in, you know? And the humor in this movie, I think, is actually works. Like, a lot of MCU movies do have a lot of jokes in at, like, the wrong moments, you know? It's very tense, very morbid, you know? And just throw in a joke about piss or whatever, you know, and it can get very annoying. It doesn't bother me so much, but I understand why it bothers a lot of other people. In this movie, there really isn't, you know, like, and there's, like, a few comedy characters. There's, like, Kumail Nanjiani's character. He has sort of, like, this butler who I expected him to really just overstay his welcome and just get really annoying, but he didn't. He was pretty funny. And the messaging about, like, humanity, basically, is really cool. And I like sort of, like, the philosophical questions it sort of asks, or makes you ask yourself. I'm not gonna really get into them, you know. I don't want to get into spoilers. This review might actually be hard to do without getting into spoilers. Maybe, I say this a lot and I never end up doing it, but maybe I'll do a spoiler discussion for this movie, but we'll see it. We'll see. On a visual aspect, this movie is stunning. I don't think it's the best looking movie of the year. I think that has to go to Dune. But this is definitely, like, maybe number 2. Alright, this movie looks great. The CGI, while maybe that's another thing, it's an MCUism. A lot of scenes are, like, CG'd, like, to the nth degree. But the CG looks really good in this movie. And a lot of the atmospheres, the backgrounds, the settings are all very nice looking. Where I kind of get a bit conflicted, though, is the storytelling, kind of. Not particularly, like, the story itself. You know, I was interested in what was going on, but specifically how it was told. You see, without giving spoilers, you know, every MCU movie is, like, linear. They tell the story in a linear way, you know, from beginning to end. This movie doesn't do that. It kind of flip-flops between, like, present day and, you know, the past, like, 5000 BC or whatever. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but, like, there are certain characters that, like, are introduced or, like, are just shown in a flashback scene where it's, like, you know, they're just there, and then later on in the movie where it goes back to present day, they get introduced as if we, like, never saw them earlier. And that happens more than once. There's one character that, like, doesn't even show up for another 90 minutes of the movie, and it's like, there are also many twists and turns in the movie, and there's a lot of them. Like, it's actually going to be kind of hard to talk about this movie in plot detail without giving spoilers, because there's so many twists, turns, reveals. I want to say the villains, the deviants, are, like, as, like, two-dimensional as they get. They are basically like, you know, you see it in the trailer, they're like, they might seem like just, you know, what's the word, minions, I guess. They're a little more than just minions, but they, like, what are their motives? Why do they want to do this, you know? And it's, like, you kind of get some answers, but it's like, I don't know, they just don't really feel like characters, if you know what I mean. And then there's this one twist where, like, a character becomes bad, and it feels like it comes out of nowhere, to me at least. I guess, like, things were explained and it made sense, but when it happened, when he turned, it felt very random, if you know what I mean. The other thing is, like, this was kind of a problem with Shang-Chi, but I think it's more of a problem here. This movie likes to forget that it's an MCU movie, but then also remembers that it's an MCU movie. With Shang-Chi, you know, it was mostly, it was something different, but because it's an MCU movie, they had to throw in a lot of jokes in there, and it's way more noticeable in there. In this movie, it's a completely different kind of movie, but then they throw in, the jokes I said weren't that bad, but the CGI, like, a lot of things are CGI'd, you know. I heard a lot of, like, mixed opinions on sort of the mythologies of this movie, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know, like, the movie starts off weird. Like, it doesn't start off like how most MCU movies do. I don't want to get into spoilers. I don't want to get into what I mean even talking about by, like, the mythologies, but, like, if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean, where it sort of explains sort of the entire, like, basically your entire view of the MCU, I'll just say, is sort of explained in a way that maybe you weren't thinking of, and it's a bit mixed. Some people, I've heard mixed reactions to that. I didn't mind it. I understand why it would get, well, like, I kind of am not the biggest fan of the way that was done, but I don't mind it, you know. Overall, I thought this movie was good, but the MCU I've seen better. I feel like this movie, like, I think there's a really fucking good movie somewhere hidden in this movie, you know. And not that I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely not a bad movie. I think you should definitely watch this if you're a fan of the MCU. It's just, I feel like there's a few issues with the storytelling and with, you know, certain characters and certain, you know, way things are explained that I feel like it sort of brings this movie down a bit. That being said, I'm going to give Eternals a 7 out of 10. Who knows, maybe my opinion will change. Maybe I'll end up liking this movie. Maybe I'll end up hating this movie. Maybe I'll watch it again and my opinion will change. Or maybe it'll solidify my sort of mixed, rather positive review, but, like, with caution, alright? So temper your expectations with this movie. I've heard that at Disney, like, they fucking love this movie over at Disney, you know? Like, they're saying it's their favorite MCU movie, so it's not mine. But what do you guys think of Eternals? Have you seen it? Or did you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Have you seen it? Or do you like it? Do you not like it? Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? And if you haven't seen it, do you want to see it? Do you not want to see it? Anything about the movie, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, or I'll erase your existence. Bye!